Lara, well done, well done. Thank you. I'm going to start again. I do apologize. Looks like we have some technical difficulty on my end. I'm just going to go right back to the beginning. So welcome everybody. Welcome to this marvelous Sunday evening. I hope everyone's okay. I'm going to be on my own tonight. Rob is, well, he's been in Koh Samui all week, and I believe he's in the middle of the ocean on a boat on his way back to the mainland to jump on a plane, come back to Chiang Mai. So I'm going to be running my own. So what we're going to be doing is creating a shipping plan, and I've added on some inspection services on the end, as well as some shipping details. So as a quick bonus, we can go through that as well. So all of you that are new, welcome. I hope everyone's okay. We're going to be going over, like I say, shipping plan now, which means you're basically in the position where you're sending products into Amazon. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be reverting back to sort of step one or square one, how to find products, because that's one of the biggest challenges in this business, is trying to find the right product. So we're going to be spending quite a bit of time going over that in several sessions in detail. So, right, let's jump into create a shipping plan. So I'm going to walk through some detailed screenshots that I've taken from my account, and I've obviously sort of blanked out various different confidential pieces of information. So if you're wondering what that is, that's all it is. So let's dive in. So first of all, we're going to be logging into our Seller Central account, and I've assumed that you've already set yourself up on that and got yourself an account up and running already. So the first thing we need to do is one, click the box next to the listing. In other words, next to the product that you want to send inventory into. Let me zoom into that so you can actually have a look at that. So in this case, I've got, this is one of my live products. It's just herb scissors. And I've got another fictitious product here. Again, herb scissors, but just of a different color. Just so I can use this as a demonstration purposes. So basically what you would do is on the left-hand side, you've got one of these little boxes. You would just tick that, or actually click on that little box to add a tick to it. Okay, so that's what you would actually do there. So you would actually tick that, and then you would come up to here. Step 2 will be select the drop-down menu. Now, at the moment, it's showing action on 0 selected because I haven't actually ticked the box. But once I tick the box, it will show as 1 selected. It will then bring up the drop-down menu, which is here. Okay. Now, at this stage, what you need to be doing is selecting send or replenish inventory. Okay. So all of these other activities here have got actions set against them, and we'll be going through those another time. But right now, we're interested in sending or replenishing inventory. So once we've got that stage, we'll tick that, and that's going to bring you up to the next slide, which is adding an address. Again, let me sort of zoom in here so we can actually have a look at this in detail. So the first step is shipping plan. What is this? Well, basically what we need to be doing is selecting create a new shipping plan. All right, so make sure that dot is activated in the top one. So create new shipping plan. All right. Now I've blanked out some information here, so it's one of my suppliers. But what you would do in my case, because I've already got sort of various different suppliers listed, it's saying ship from another address, which I want to do. I want to create a new address. Okay, but in your case, if you haven't got anything in there already, or if you have, it will show exactly like this. But if you haven't, it will say add shipping address. All right. So all this is in this example, I'll be adding a new shipping address. Okay. So that's basically what we're doing. So click this blue button here or text here, and that will take you to the next screen where you can actually add a new supplier. So obviously I've blanked out some of my suppliers here. So What you want to do now is click this text here that says enter a new ship from address. Okay, and when you add that, when you add the detail, it'll basically tell you, sort of give you that box to actually fill in the details, and it will say the manufacturer. Now, sometimes I will put my company in there as the manufacturer. There are Phoebe's Kitchen Products, okay, and then put the address of the supplier. Now, I normally do that because I'm brand registered, which is it's another lesson in its own right. But if you're not brand registered, it's perfectly okay to put in the supplier's name and then their address. And make sure you get their address correct. Okay, so this is shipping from. So this is your supplier's address, assuming you've got the supplier in China. All right, so that's basically where we are on there. So you basically go through this detail and ship from and add that new address in there. Okay, so once you've got that in there, you basically, let me go back, and it will say save. All right, so you basically save that address and continue. All right, so once you press that continue button, it will be added in here. So that will bring you back to this screen that we saw a few seconds ago. It's basically this one here, but we just changed the address, and make sure you got the correct address in there, and then we can move on to the next step. Now, the next step is I always do case packed products. Now, I do this because if you do individual products, and if you say I've got 100 products coming into Amazon, cell phone cases, for example, or in this case, herb scissors, if I'd have picked individual products, that Amazon would assume that I'm sending in 100 individually wrapped herb scissors. Yeah, and that will say, right, okay, then send 10 there, send 10 there, send 25 over there, send another 25 over there, another 10 there, and that will split up your supply all over the country. If you say case packed, it will say, all right, then I want one case over there and one case over there, potentially. So we're always looking at case pack because that is how the supplier will pack them. They will pack them into one carton or a number of cartons if they don't fit into one carton. Carton is just the terminology for the box that's being used to ship the product from China to America. All right, so basically make sure we've got create new shipping plan. We've got the correct address in there, which is your supplier's address, and then we go case packed. All right, so that's the next step. Then you press continue. So what's the next step? And this is where, and this is the next screen. So we've got a number of steps we need to jump through. You can see here on the red arrow at the top. Let me zoom in there so we can have a look at what we've got. Set quantity. Then we'll need to go through prepare products, label products, review shipments, prepare shipment, and summary. So we're going to be covering all of these aspects shortly. So here we are again in the actual product itself. So what it's showing is, excuse me, my product. It's showing the merchant SKU. No, I haven't done anything smart with this because it's just a fictitious product that I'm using. And then what you need to do is complete these details here. Okay. Now let me zoom out just so you can see this in detail. So basically, so on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll be able to see this. And you need this information from your supplier, basically. So you will ask them, once they've packed up the products, you need to understand units per case. Now, case is the carton. Carton is what the products are going to be shipped over from China to America. So just to reiterate, units per case says how many items, in other words, how many herb scissors are going into one box. Okay. And that's what we're talking about here. So I've got one, in my case, I'm just making this up, I've got one case coming over and I've got 25 items in that one case. All right, so let me just zoom in so you can see that. So I've got one case and I've got 25 items in that case. All right, so now we need some information on the product itself. So this is the product, this is the herb scissors, not the case, this is the herb scissors. So in inches, you can change this from inches to millimeters or centimeters, I believe. And once you've got that, you can save, and then you press continue, which will take you to the next screen. Okay, so once you've got that information in there, it will show you exactly what you've got. So you've got 25 units coming over because it's 1 times 25. Okay, so 1 times 25 equals 25 total units over here. So that's it. That's what this shipping plan will look at, 25 units coming over. And you then press continue, which should take you to the next step. Okay, preparing products. I don't need to go preparing products because I'm going to be shipping direct into FBA. If you are shipping by merchant, in other words, you've got a load of products at your house and you want to ship them from your garage into Amazon, you will need to prepare your products, and that's where you basically go. But 9 times out of 10 on here, we're going to be shipping direct from China into FBA. So this is the screen that you need to do. So you press continue here because basically we're going to be doing some label stuff in a minute. All right, so just press continue. So don't worry about this one too much. So the next screen you come to is review shipments. All right, so basically this is where you need to start doing a little bit of work. So what we got here now is the product. This is the shipping plan itself. We've got one SKU coming in. We've got 25 items, 25 units, or 25 cases. They're talking about individual unit cases here. I've now got a shipping address. So this is going to Dallas. You cannot pick where you send your products. Amazon would dictate where you send your products to. Now, if I'd have said, you know what, I've got 2 cases coming, I've got 50 units coming, and I want to send in 2 boxes or 2 cartons, they could have said, all right, let's send one lot to Dallas and another lot to another location in somewhere in America, in one of their 50 odd, I believe it's more than that, warehouses. So but you cannot dictate where you send it. What you can do is override. If they say, you know what, I want to send one lot here, one lot there, one lot there, you can override and say, you know what, I want to send everything to one place. If you want to do that for whatever reason, it would just cost you money. I think it's 25 cents per item to have that. But I can't see any reason why you'd want to do that, because once they're in FBA, they're in FBA, and it's Amazon will sort out all of the shipping from there. So what we need to do now is approve shipping, because yes, I'm happy enough with everything going to Dallas. I've got the right number of quantities here. Everything's looking okay. The shipping plan details is somewhat irrelevant, just for tracking purposes. So you just approve shipment now, and then you'll go to the next screen. So the next screen is where you need to start filling out some details, prepare shipment. Okay, so again, what we've got here is the full address, Amazon.com, KYDCLC, or whatever it is, and Dallas, Texas. And what you need to be doing now is looking at some of the details. So we're going to work down item number 2 on this page. So again, let me just zoom in here so you can see this a little bit. We're going to be looking at small parcel delivery. Now, again, I'm assuming this is our first or second or even 10th shipment coming over, and we're not at the stage where we need to send stuff on a container as it is. So it's going to be small parcel delivery. And what you're going to be doing is then select other courier or carrier. Okay. and then you need to select this drop down menu. So select drop down menu here. Okay. And once you've done that, it will give you some results with respect to what do you want to do? What do you mean by other? Okay, so on this other, you'll be looking at literally other. So, hello, Mr. Forney, how you doing, sir? Now, you're either in the middle of the ocean with some really good internet, or you've extended your Koh Samui.
I have extended my Koh Samui.
Yeah, I thought you might. Very nice. So we're just going through some shipping details, shipping plans. So please jump in if you see anything. Okay. So basically, what you do here is on the other, you pick other. All right, because we're not looking at sort of internal US or anything like this, ground services. So basically, we need to be shipping products from China to America, not from America to America. Okay, or internally. So it's the other option we need to be clicking here. Okay, whoops. We'll just go back there. All right, so let's go over to the next screen. Now we've selected other. It will take us down to, we need to be looking at shipment number or shipping packing. Okay, so this is option number 3 on that list, on that page. We need to be doing everything in one box. Now that is in my case, this is in my example. Now, like I said, if you've got 2 boxes coming over, or you've got 50 units or 100 units or 200, maybe you've got 10 boxes coming over, okay? You then change that to multiple boxes, okay? So in my case, it's got everything in one box. But if it's your case, you've got multiple boxes coming over, press multiple boxes. All right, so just make sure you've got the correct one selected there. All right, so that's that. And then we need to start looking at some more details on the next page. So this is continuing on from section 3 of that page, where you can see here that I've selected my everything in one box, okay, and I've got my herb scissors all ready to rock and roll. You then need to complete over on the right hand side. Let me just expand that out. So over on the right hand side here, you need to be filling out some more details. All right, so let me just zoom in so you can see what those details are. Okay, so it's basically the box weight. Now, again, we're talking about the box. This is the actual one box of complete. I've got, in my case, there's 25 units coming over. So that's one box I've got. So that is that one box. I need the weight and I need the dimensions. Now, you need to be very clear with your supplier that you do not, or they do not, pack the box so it's overweight, or they use a box that's oversized. I'm just going to put you on mute, Rob. Hold on. So the box weight can be no more than 50 pounds. Absolutely no more than 50 pounds. All right, so that's an absolute must, because if it is, you'll get penalized when that box turns up at FBA, up at Amazon. And in some cases, they just may refuse it. But you'll certainly be sort of slapped on the wrist. Box dimensions is 25 by 25 by 25. Right? That's the maximum. It's 25 inches I'm talking about. So it's 25 by 25 by 25. That's the maximum size of box you can send into Amazon. Okay, on the standard size. Obviously, if you're sending in a desk or something, and that is going to be oversized anyway, but that's a different ballgame. So make sure that you talk to your supplier and stipulate or state that, please do not use a box that is greater than 25 inches by 25 inches or 25 inches or 25 inches on any one side. And it must not weigh more than 50 pounds. It absolutely must not weigh more than 50 pounds. All right. So in some cases, that's going to be okay. I know some people out there are looking at slightly heavier products. So you just need to be careful with respect to the weights and as they're coming over. Okay. That's an absolute must. So Rob and I have been working on a shipment, and one of the boxes out of, I think we had 12 boxes coming over. One of the boxes was overweight. and they stopped it. Amazon stopped it, and we had to appeal, and we managed to release that sort of box and get it into stock. But it's extra hoops you need to jump through, and basically there's no reason why you should be jumping through hoops if you just say to your supplier, this is what the guide says. And there is a guide, and I can actually sort of put the link into the Facebook page afterwards, so you can have a look at and download that, and even send it over to your supplier and highlight various different areas or screenshot and say, look, this is what it says. All right, so just make sure, I just want to go over this again, 50 pounds maximum. Any one of these boxes should not be greater than 25 inches. All right, so that's where you need to be sort of looking from a fill in the details. If you've got multiple boxes, you would just have box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5, and just fill in the details for each of the boxes. Now, again, you need to get this information from your supplier, obviously, before you fill in the details. Okay, and they will actually provide this information once you're at that stage. So once you got that, just confirm. And then the following screen will say, you know what, we've got your information here. It's successfully submitted. Excellent. Thank you very much. Obviously, just made this up. And basically what they will be doing is cross-checking that as it comes through. So, again, let me just zoom in there so you can see what the screen will look like. So it won't actually change too much. You'll just have this little green tick here and say your box information has been successfully submitted. Okay, once that is done, you then press confirm to move on to the next screen. So let's have a look at the next screen. Labels. This is the shipping labels. All right, so this is the shipping labels that go on the box. This is this goes on the outside of the box. Okay. Now, what you got to do here is just print, choose the sort of the size. I just normally use sort of US letter size as a standard, so that gives you various different options in this drop-down box here. But I just use US letter. You then just press complete confirm. That's it. Okay. So you then go on to the next screen. So the next screen will basically, you'll be given as a download as a PDF. So make sure you save that PDF in a file on your computer where you can find it. Now, I've got various different, I'm pretty good at sort of a filing system on my computer. So everything's under Amazon FBA, then it's got the product, then I've got the shipment date or a shipment. So in this case, I've actually saved this under products, herb scissors, June 2017 shipment. Okay, so I know exactly where it is, because what you need to do now is basically send this PDF off to your supplier. Okay, and what they would do is they would just print this out and stick it on the box, ready to send. All right, so that's basically what you need to do. So let me just go back one. So once you got complete shipment, all right, you will actually be given, right, it will actually download. And once you've got that download, now on Chrome, it will come up down the bottom left-hand corner as a download after you saved it. So you can actually open it up there. On a Mac, you normally got the download going on at the top right-hand corner with a little down arrow, and you can save into the relevant file there. But basically, this is what your labels will look like. Okay, so it's got all of the information on here. You send that off to your supplier. Supplier puts this on the box. It's now ready for shipment. Okay. Now, some people ask, what about labels, FNSKUs or other labels? Just to make life easy, yeah, just print out some FNSKU labels. Now, what this is the Amazon designated product code for each of your products. Okay, let me say that again. All right, so on these little herb scissors, for example, yeah, on my little herb scissors, right? On each one of these, I need a barcode on every single one of these items. So I'm sending in 25 products, right? So I need 25 labels printed out, and I'll have one label stuck to each of the packaging of these herb scissors. So I've got 25 laid out on the table, and my supplier in China will take one label and put it on each one of these products. Okay, that is absolute law when it comes to sending products into Amazon. If you don't do it, it's not a major issue because Amazon will do it for you and just charge you. I think it's 20 cents per product. Okay, so it can add up. So the easiest thing to do is for you to do it. All right. Now the easiest way to do this is, like I said here, click one, click the box next to your listing. So again, I would just click this box. Okay. Two, select the drop-down menu. Now we've already done this when we were looking at creating a shipping plan, as in send and replenish, but we're looking for something else. So let's have a look at that drop-down menu and have a look at the options that they've got for us. So here's that menu again. So initially we were on send and replenish inventory, correct? Okay, but this time we want to be printing labels, and this is printing item labels. So like I said, all of these have got various different actions. And if you press your, let me go back a screen for a second. If you just select one of your products down here, so in this case, I'm going to select this particular product, my herb scissors. So if I just select that, tick that, and then this drop-down menu, I could do various different things with that particular listing because I've just ticked that one listing, okay? And that one listing, I'm looking to do something with that listing. Now, in this case, I want to print the labels. Okay, so because I've already done the shipping plan, okay, I now need to print the labels. So let's have a look at what they look like. Okay, so this is the next screen. So, right, okay, you want to print some labels for this particular product. Check that you've got the right product. So I've got the herb scissors, I've got the blue ones. This is my fictitious child, which I don't have. It's just for the sake of sort of training, it's in there. All right. So I want in here as a drop-down menu. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Paper sticker type. What you're looking for is 30 up labels, US letter. All right. So it's basically going to print 30 labels. One of these standard, I don't know, it's like Avery stickers or whatever. I don't know, whatever they are. But basically, it's 30 labels per sheet. And that's basically what we're bringing in. Amazon will actually set that up for us. Okay, so we don't want to print labels as yet because we want to set the quantity. Okay, so add quantity of labels to print. So I don't want one because that would just print one individual label on my sheet of 30. All right, so I need to change that in my case to 25. All right, so I'm going to go 25, and all of a sudden it's come up with this. Okay, so this is obviously the PDF download again. But before you actually do that, it says it gives you a warning. Now, let me zoom in so you can actually read this warning in detail. Okay, so this warning will pop up before you do anything. Okay, and it'll pop up at the top center of your screen. sellercentral.amazon.com says, this is a reminder, please cover any existing standard barcodes, i.e. a UPS, ISBN if you're sending in a book, right? EAN, which is a European standard, with the new FBA labels, right? Which is what we just got here. So you can see my labels over here. And again, this is just a sheet, and if you're using the correct template with the 30 sheets on it, this will fit perfectly. So you can see what the ASIN number is. If you search this, you won't find it because it's not listed, like I said. But you can see the detail of that, and it's got a barcode. Every product you send into Amazon must have a readable barcode, and only one readable barcode. Okay. Now, this is why it's got this warning here. Now, if you're sending in a product that's already got a barcode on, you need to cover that up with this particular barcode, or you need to get your supplier to scrub it out or do whatever. But in most cases, because you are private labeling your products, white labeling your products, what you'll be doing is, Mr. Supplier, I want these herb scissors, and I want them in the standard box or standard packaging you send them over, and I'm not worried about my particular dedicated packaging at this present moment in time. So I'll just use your standard packaging, please. And on the back, I want one of these labels stuck on it. Okay, so in this particular case, that standard packaging may well be just a plain white box, or it may be a blister pack, it may be a poly bag, I don't know. But whatever it is, you need one of these labels on it. Okay, if you skip this step, it's not a showstopper. Okay, it's not a showstopper, simply because Amazon will receive your packaging, they will open it up, they will check it, and they will check it, and the first thing I want to try and do is scan the barcode. If the barcode is not in there, we'll unpack everything, and they will do this step themselves, and they'll charge you 20 cents per item. All right, so it's not a showstopper. So if you do forget it, don't panic, as in like, oh my God, I need to stop the shipment and send the airplane back to China to add my 20 labels. No, don't worry, because Amazon have got your back, and they will say, you know, oh, there's no barcode on this, guys, but don't worry, we've got it. We'll just charge you for it. All right. So, but in order to make life nice and easy, just do it. Okay, just do it, and I've showed you how to do it. All right, so that's basically what these barcodes look like. And again, send over the PDF to your supplier. Once the supplier has got this, they will print them out, and they will take one of these labels and put it on one of the products before they put it into the shipping carton. All right, simple as that. So that was it from a shipping plan. So nice and easy. Nice and easy. So you've now got this as a walkthrough. If anybody has any questions regarding that, please come back to us, and we can walk you through that. I can sort of help anybody out that's got any issues with respect to a shipping plan. All right. But the next thing I want to cover is shipping your products. Okay, and I want to touch on a little bit of an inspection side of things as well. All right. Now, how to ship your products to Amazon. A lot of people get stuck on this one. Well, there's no need to get stuck, because it's very easy. And there's two ways to do this. One, ask your supplier. Two, ask a freight forwarder. All right, simple as that. But there's basically three ways you can get products from one place to another. Okay, the cheapest way is on a boat or on a ship or on a container. Okay, inside a container, that container goes on one of these big vessels, and that comes over from China to America, and that takes about 25 days, 30 days. Okay, that's the cheapest way. The next cheapest way is one of these beasts, the airplane. Okay, now when I talk about airplane, this is not to be confused with FedEx or anything like that. This is air freight. All right, dedicated air freight. Now that air freight will come over in about a week, all right, and it's around $4 a kilo. If you're looking over this side of things, once you're at this stage where you're looking at half a container or a partial container or even a full container load, your unit price comes right down, because you pay per container. I think it's $1,200 for a whole container. So you can imagine if you've sort of got all of those herb scissors inside one container, 1,200. I don't know how many I can fit in there, but quite a few. My shipping prices are going to come right down, well under $1. Well under $1. Okay. Now, predominantly everybody here is going to be using one of these services here. Okay, FedEx, China, this is China Mail, TNT, that's a European outfit, UPS, DHL, and this is predominantly known as Air Express. Okay, now this is how I have shipped every single one of my products. Air Express. I'm currently looking at shipping some products this week actually via Air Express, and I've got a few products coming over on sea. I'm just organizing at the moment. But basically, everybody here would initially be looking to get their initial products over, certainly by one of these services here. Okay. Air Express or Express. Okay. Not to be confused with Air. Okay. So this is commonly known just as Air, and this is Express. So just some of the terminology. Right. So where do we go from here? Like I said, step one, talk to your supplier, you know. But when you're talking to your supplier, make sure they understand what they're doing when it comes to shipping products to Amazon. Make sure they've got some experience, some past experience. If they've done it before with other previous buyers, yeah, ask them to provide a quotation to ship your goods to whatever address. Because at this stage, you may not have that address from the shipping plan. You may want to get a quote for shipping before you actually set up your shipping plan. So therefore, just in my case, I'm in the Philippines. I haven't got an address. Guess what address I use? I use Rob's address. Yeah, because it's not going to Rob's place, but it's just some address in America. All right, it just so happens that Rob's address in wherever it is pretty close to one of the largest FBA distribution hubs in America. So that's quite close. But it doesn't matter, all right? Just give them your address or your neighbor's address or your uncle's address. It doesn't matter. Just give them some address in America where they can actually say, oh, yeah, okay, I've got it. It's going from my address in China to the factory, from the factory to this zip code. And that's basically what they need in order to get you a quotation. All right. So if you don't know anybody in China, Google. Just Google something. Just Google and any business and get their address and just do the zip code. Doesn't matter, because it's not actually physically going there. You just need a quote. But make sure this is really, really important, right? I'm just gonna whoops. I'm just gonna go back. It basically. Make sure they've got experience in shipping products to Amazon. All right, I've worked with sort of a couple of suppliers, and I've been the first person that they've actually shipped products to Amazon for, and it was hard work. It really was hard work. You know, it's they oh blimey, they didn't get the boxes right. They didn't know how to do the labels. Nothing. You know, so it's a lot easier if your supplier is already shipping products into Amazon. So make sure of that. Secondly, talk to a freight forwarder. Okay, there are a number of different freight forwarders out there. A freight forwarder, all a freight forwarder means is it's an agent or an agency or a company that looks after shipping products from one destination to another. Simple as that. That's basically what their job is. That's what they do, right? And again, don't forget to ask if they've got experience in shipping products to Amazon. And because I've been there, I thought it was a really good freight forwarder I was working with, and they messed up big time. They messed up big time, and they cost one particular person who was shipping products over that I know. They lost their business because of it, because they screwed up. Because they weren't that familiar with all of the intricate details of sending products into Amazon. Okay, so it can happen. So make sure that your freight forwarder has got experience in shipping products to Amazon. Don't assume because they're a freight forwarder they know what they're doing. Okay, big thing there. So whoever it is, make sure they got experience in shipping products into Amazon. So who do we use? Well, we do have a friendly contact called Sarah, and Sarah works for TopWay Freight. Okay, and this is one of the freight forwarders that we sort of recommend at the moment. So TopWay Freight, they're based in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is in southern China. It's very close to Hong Kong. Okay, so Hong Kong is one of the busiest ports in Asia. So it's very convenient. So the main point of contact, like I said, is Sarah Wang. Look her up on Facebook. This is what she looks like. This is you're obviously going to get these slides, so it's going to be easy enough to find. And go and have a look at topwayfreight.com for some of their details. All right, so they're very good. And Sarah, she's very good. She's part of our group. She's part of the group, so it wouldn't be too difficult to find her. She speaks very good English. She's native Chinese. She's been in the business for a long time. And TopWay Sarah will really look after you with respect to sending your products over. Now, TopWay as a company do offer a number of different services. They obviously offer international forwarding, and they're looking at sea freight. They're looking at air freight as well as the express. So they've got everything covered with respect to shipping products over. So, like I said, they've got the air freight, they got the sea freight, and got the express courier covered. They also offer some warehousing and distribution. Now, just recently, they opened up for anybody that's in Australia. They've got their own little hub in Australia for whatever reason. But they've got sort of warehousing. So if you want to do some consolidated shipping, particularly on samples, or if you've got some products coming out together, so you've got two different suppliers to make up your bundle, for example, they can look after that for you. So consolidation just means getting various different products from various different places, bringing them into one place. Once they're in one place, they can ship everything together. So it's going to cost you less to organize your shipping if you're doing consolidation. All right. So there's another service they offer. Another service they offer is inspection. Now, they don't do the inspection themselves. What they've done is that they've partnered up with one of the biggest inspection companies in China. And they've managed to work out a discount rate. Now, the discount rate is $100 off, basically. So you're getting it for $200 now. But basically what they focus on is pre-shipment inspection, or a PSI, they're calling it. Now, this is your final opportunity to take corrective, I'm just reading this, this is your final opportunity to take corrective action before your product is finished and packed, making an effective tool to safeguard your product against costly imports for the risk of $200. Now, what that actually means is, and for those of you who don't know, I actually work for an inspection company in China as a consultant. And let me tell you, we get all sorts, and I see on a daily basis, all sorts of problems where people have not taken the opportunity to spend $200 or $300 to get their products inspected. And those products have been junk, basically. And when they've been shipped direct to Amazon FBA, you can imagine FBA they're not worried whether your product's good or bad, because they just send it out. What they're worried about is looking after the customer. So if the customer receives a poor product from you, they're going to do? They're going to leave a poor review on Amazon's platform, at which point Amazon do take notice. Okay, they do take a lot of notice, and they will shut you down. They will shut you down quicker than you can blink. Okay, very important to make sure your products are getting to Amazon in the best quality and the best condition that they can be in, so that your buyers, your customers, or Amazon's customers, right, have a good experience. That's the key thing. Outside, because I've got hundreds and hundreds of horror stories with respect to people not getting products inspected. You can see down the bottom here, containers on a ship. Can you imagine spending $50,000 on your stock, putting it in a container? When you open up the container, it's full of concrete and not the product you actually ordered. What are you going to do about it? There's very little you can do about it. You just spent $50,000 on concrete blocks, not on your actual product. You know, and don't get complacent either. In other words, if you've been working with a particular supplier for a long time, that could be months, that could be years. Okay, don't get complacent. Just because you've got that one-on-one relationship with the buyer, with the technical, with the owner, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's a good thing you do have that. It's a good thing you get to that level, but don't get complacent when it comes to inspection, because at some point the owner may be on holiday, okay, and his supervisor may think, you know what, I'm going to really impress the boss this month while he's away, while he's doing his sort of taking the family around wherever he's going. I'm going to really impress, and I'm going to save cost, okay, and I'm going to show that I'm worthy of my position. So when it comes to your shipment or your delivery or your order, there may be a few corners cut, meaning between the time you started and between everything may be perfect, but on that next shipment it's not perfect, simply because there's a few corners cut, because the supervisor wanted to impress the boss and save some money. All right, don't get complacent. Always get your products inspected. Okay, well, when I say always get your products inspected, for my 25 scissors, I probably wouldn't. Okay, yeah, because I would just get sort of various different other ways to do it. WeChat, Skype with my supplier, get them to take some photographs, get them to take a photograph of every single one of them, even go down there with their smartphone and do some video. I say video inspect on the go. But if you've ordered 1,000 products, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. And that's where you should be looking at an inspection. So remember, always get products inspected. Now I can go on and on about this one, but I'll leave it there. Okay. So that's basically all I have. So I hope I got some questions. Rob, if you've got any questions, please jump in. But I think I've been keeping an eye on the chat, and I started off with a technical issue. I was muted, but I think we're okay now. So if you've got any questions, please come and ask those. Rob, you got any comments on shipping plan or shipping in general?
No, I think that was great. That's right on point. I think that there at the end, you didn't use the proper terminology. I'm getting your background feed. I didn't get your proper terminology with the iPhone inspection. What Paul was referring to is what I called the iPhone inspection. That's inside the Gorillaz terminology. So let's assume you got $1,000 order and you don't want to spend it $100 or $150, which would be almost 10% of your cost. You're trying to keep it low. If you've used one of our other videos and you have vetted your company that you're working with enough, and you feel comfortable, and they've been a good supplier and they're responsive to your emails and those kind of things, then at that time I don't particularly worry about it as much because the amount isn't significant enough. But what Paul was referring to is that I think you should absolutely get what we call the iPhone inspection, which is, man, listen, they've got a iPhone in their hand, or they've got an Android device in their hand. They can go down and they can take 1080 pictures for you. I mean, you can take really nice pictures and you can have them lay out 10, 12 of them. I want to see them. I want to take some pictures. Now, remember this. If you're only buying $1,000 worth of product, okay, you can't boss these people around. Not to saying you're not the customer, not saying that but the more aggressive you get with this thing, and if you're trying to beat people up too far on price, you may put people in a disadvantage for them to want to do their job super for you at the point in the end. So just make sure that, you're not making them do too crazy much, but having them take pictures and video and, show you the box before they ship it out is what you want to do if you're only spending a little bit of money. Once you get above that $2,000 mark, well, then, you know, it's much more appropriate and you can spend $100, $150 on an inspection.
Yeah, that's a good point. Inspection doesn't need to be that much. You know, the company I work for, they charge $300. Okay, but you know, I've done a video with respect to how to find an inspection company in China, and they vary from $100 upwards. All right, so for the sake of $100, it's well worth doing. But as Rob said, depending on the value of your order, depending on the quantity of your order, you know, you could have one product coming over that's worth several $1,000s, or you could have sort of several thousand items worth a couple $100. You know, it's horse for courses really. But in my case, I always get products inspected because I know what the horror stories can be like.
That's one of those tenacious things that I talk about. Sometimes if you make an error like that, you know, you might lose your whole order if you don't do that right. So super important. And the only other thing that I would say anything about would be, you know, if you'd like to get inspectors, there's tons of them out there, but there's a great source in Alibaba for inspectors. And if you're going to use trade assurance, they want you to use one of their inspectors as well. They're all rated. There's a lot of them there. I've not had a problem. Sometimes people will bring up an issue that somehow they're, you know, working with the suppliers and stuff. Listen, people generally don't want bad reviews and certainly don't want them on review. I just tend to try to live in, I'm going to do my due diligence to check on people, check the age of their websites, do that kind of stuff. How long have they been, you know, even in a gold level on Alibaba? People at a gold level have done it 4 or 5 years. They're paying money to get that status every year. Oh, people are like, well, they just pay for it. Well, okay. That means they've been on business long enough and they could pay for it. And like Alibaba didn't take them off because they had so many bad deals and they were ripping people off. So I just tend to live in, you know, a much more, what's the right word? I want to live in the positive of the world and just, you know, hopefully try to avoid that by, you know, checking on the company. And like I said, if you haven't watched that due diligence video that we did about how to like vet your suppliers in China, like how to check in on them, you know, I mean, we Paul and I even talked about call the guy next door, but do something. But the whole point is that, you know, suppliers and inspectors there on Alibaba, you know, there's a system on there where you can rank them live. And whenever that's happening, I mean, if somebody's just ripping people off, you know, or they're, you know, using an inspector and then, you know, then the company sends bad product, that inspector's job is done because he knows he can be rated on there. And if, you know, if you're making a little bit of side money, because some of these guys are, you know, small as a guy in a truck and he goes out and inspects stuff. That's his job. He created for himself. So that guy, if he gets a bad inspection, you know, that could be an issue. So I have no problem there. The other issue is you can't get one inspector for the whole country. Different cities have different people, as you can imagine. You know, some guy's not likely getting in his car for $100 and driving 6 hours away to go inspect your product. So sometimes it's space dependent. Now there are people that drive and, you know, drive 100 miles. It depends on, you know, what level they are in their business, you know, and most of them will charge you more. So, but for sure, under $150 on Alibaba inspection, it's just basically a consortium of people there, and it talks about where they're, you know, it evaluates each of them, how long they've been doing it, and then you can read reviews from other people. So that's my spiel on inspections, because I knew that would come up here as we talked about it. So Alibaba inspections is fine for me. You know, I don't try to complicate this too much. Digital information's digital information. If you're a scam artist, they're doing everything they can to hide their scam. So if they're, you know, you're searching on Google and you find one, that doesn't mean that if you still haven't done your due diligence that they're going to be legit. So for ease of use to get to it, you know, you can go look at 200 inspectors right now and pick one. You know, do your best. Look at all of them. Read the reviews. You know, just do your best. There you go. That's my input. Fantastic job there, Paul.
Well, thank you, sir. That's very good advice. Laura, she's got one question on shipping. You say that for initial shipment, we should be looking at Air Express. Can you give more insight into why Well, predominantly it's so to get the initial product over. We're not going to be ordering too many products because it's a test order. It's our first product coming in. So therefore, this is an assumption that the product's going to be lightweight, small, and only a few hundred units. So therefore, the cost is going to be okay. Whereas everything's got to be taken into consideration. You know, if you've got a product that's slightly heavier, then it may well be worthwhile talking to a freight forwarder and say, you know what, my product's a little bit on the heavy side, but the prices, you know, all of the numbers stack up and everything's perfect. I found the perfect product, but it's slightly overweight. That's not a major problem. Look at putting it on the sea. The only downside to that is you're going to wait for the product to get there. So the difference between Air Express and sea from a timing point of view is probably about 4 to 6 weeks in realistic terms. Now, there's an awful lot of hoops to jump through if you're going to be putting stuff on the sea to start with. Okay, and you need to be really, really careful. And this is where you definitely need to be working with a freight forwarder that knows exactly what they're doing. Okay, so if you're looking at putting stuff on the sea, give me a shout before you actually go down that road, please. Whereas Air Express, you're going to get your products there and live, up and running within a week.
Yeah, let me touch base on that real quick. So when you're starting this business, the biggest issue is there's a lot of hurdles to cover, and the issue is that people don't. Lots of times, you know, they get hit a couple of times where there might be a problem, and the learning curve is super steep. But the quicker you can get a product up there, the better it is. And if you follow the testing process, you've got your product zero up, you've done those things, then, you know, it's much less likely you're going to fail. By adding a boat in the middle of your process, and it's 100 times more complex to send stuff through customs on a sea freight. I mean, air freight, I mean, I can't imagine the stuff they could ship over on air freight because there's no inspection going on basically there. They run across the belt at 100 miles an hour and they randomly pick some of them. So, you know, whatever people want to ship into the U.S., I don't think it's that hard. But on a boat, it is. It's crazy. They got big, you know, containers and they look at them open. And if you have just one thing wrong, all of a sudden they're fining you $5,000 a day. I mean, so first of all, if you're going to do by boat, you have to hire what we call a freight forwarder. And you said that, but I don't know if some people on the call may not even know what that is. So a freight forwarder is someone that specifically handles your package from the time they pick it up at the factory to the time it arrives at a dock all the way through to your destination, the final destination. So they're like the facilitator of your whole order from there to get through the boat. Now, there's two different kinds. There's ones in America and there are ones in China. If you asked me and said, Rob, I got to press you on an answer, I would tell you to get a freight forwarder that's based out of America. I appreciate that Chinese people are there, but the real issue is coming in to this country. Now, there's also things out there, and when you get up into that higher level stuff where you're spending a lot of money, you know, anything over probably $3,000 to, you know, above maybe $5,000. But you can get insurance on the shipment. So some crazy stuff like that happens. It's probably a couple $100. It will cover your freight if there's a problem at customs. If somehow something happens, you basically put a bond on it. It's an insurance policy, and that insurance policy can insure your product. Hey, by the way, Paul, just as a side note for everybody, Lloyd's of London now is insuring Amazon accounts. Heads up news. They, if your account gets suspended, they've got a team of people. Lloyd's of London pays it, and your product, they get products generally up in 3 days if there's an issue. But anyway, or they'll pay you, or Lloyd's of London pays it out. So
how cool is that?
Yeah, something cool. So bottom line is freight forwarding is not something that's impossible. It's not something you can do, but like think about the list of things you have to learn right now. Let's not throw in putting stuff on a boat. You know, and if later on you're selling 10,000 units a month and you're like, okay, this has been 6 months, it's doing well. I'm willing to go buy some more inventory. The other problem is that the way shipping is done, there's an initial fee, meaning, that's why when you get a sample, it costs $75 or $100 because the initial fee to ship something a lot of times is just $45 standard. Well, there's a standard fee, and I don't know what the number is. Paul made me bore up on this number, but there's really a dollar amount in which shipping it by air is better anyway, because there's just initial cost and things that go on that you can't multiply times enough units to bring the unit cost down enough. So that would be the only thing that I would point out there. So that's my final conclusion.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, nice one. Prashnet's got another question. Is express pricing based upon weight or volume? Express is normally weight, whereas if you're looking at air, it's weight versus volume. It's not as easy as just weight or just volume. They take in consideration the most. So if you're shipping feathers or foam or something like this, it's not that heavy, but it takes up quite a lot of volume. So therefore, you're taking up space on that airplane. So therefore, they would charge you on a volume. If you're shipping dumbbells, for example, they can be fairly small but very heavy. They would charge you on a weight. But if you're looking at DHL or FedEx or something like that, it's generally around $6 per kilo.
Sarah Wong does specials all the time. Sometimes she'll get them for $385, $450.
Yeah. Like that's why it's important to actually try and find her in the group. She's in a number of our different groups. Sarah Wang, just find out. I'll put her profile link in these slides. Also a picture, so you're making sure that you're finding the right person. But yeah, you're right, Rob. She does. I was searching through her Facebook page last night, and I was going back. She said, "Weekend special. Everything's going out $385." I think, wow, look at that! Look, Happy Valentine's. Got a special on for Valentine's Day. Blah blah blah. Whatever it was, everything's going out express at $4. So yeah, you're right. So I think that's basically what I've got. We're gonna stay on here for a few minutes. So if anybody wants to come in and join us down the front after we close this, more than welcome. But I think that's I
know we got some
so that's all good.
And we've got some new people in the Gorillaz today, I'm sure, on the call. So if any of you guys, just to make sure you understand how we get the link to you, is that Paul's pasted a link in the chat down on your right. If you'll scroll down, if you're up too high, on the right there'll be a link and it says Hangouts. And then after the call, we're going to hang up on the live version because this is being broadcast live all over YouTube right now. But after the live version ends, what will happen is you can still come back into this is a virtual classroom basically on YouTube. So you'll come into the classroom, which will be basically hanging out after the class. So you can come in there and you can ask any questions you have. You can come in and join the group and, find out, hey, I'm still confused about shipping. I'm still confused about how to find a product or whatever it might be that you're looking for. That's what this group's about. That's why you're here, so that we can help you. So some of you guys never even come in there and I'm like, oh, see, we've got some people. Great. Turn your volume off after the class. So you can come in and ask any questions you have. You can come in and hear my voice twice. Find out, hey, I'm still. All right, there we go. So bottom line is we'd love to have you come down if you want to chat and talk after the meeting. We'll be here. That's all I've got to say for today. Hey, thanks, guys. If you want to. Sometimes I don't do this a lot. I certainly don't do it at the beginning, but I'll share you at the end of the meeting if you'd like to see my desk and office for the today. And this is the luck of being able to travel for your work. Here we go. One quick look. God for Amazon, huh? All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.